The doorbell recognized at 1:29 a.m. The name it spoke wasn't mine. I'm not jealous of bodies, I'm jealous of permissions. Bodies tell the truth if you stop staging them. Permissions decide which truth is allowed to arrive. At 1:29 a.m. our doorbell, polite as a maitre d' who moonlights as a detective, announced, "Welcome back, Adrian," in the bright, indoor voice I'd programmed months ago. I hadn't taught it that name. I was on the couch. Elias was not. He'd texted at 10:44, "Bored, wants one more drink. Don't wait up." Elias is gifted at the part of theater that isn't on stage, making donors feel plausible and actors feel witnessed. At 7:05 I'd filmed the coffee rising because ritual is cheaper than religion and keeps better hours. I captioned it here. He reacted with the thumbs up he saves for nights that intend to rename themselves. The doorbell didn't rename anything, it confessed. The apartment had the posture rooms get when they've rehearsed a story without you. The radiator breathed like an amateur chorus. The long mirror by the plant practiced neutrality. I stood, put my palms on the counter the way our therapist taught us and offering more than a defense, and tapped the app. The doorbell's log was a list of tiny truths pretending to be clerical. 1:29, face match Adrian. 1:30, access granted, front gate. 1:33, door opened, no code used. The video thumbnail showed a man's shoulder and a rain-slick haircut I knew from programs and curtain calls. Adrian Burke, the intimacy director who taught safe distance a better name. At 3:01 the physical lock cleared its throat. Elias came in with his tie loosened, his shoes hooked by two fingers like witnesses too tired to lie. He smelled like lime and a decision made under forgiving light. He kissed the air near my cheek, our administrative truce, and then saw the doorbell app glowing on the counter, tidy and devout as a ledger. His pupils turned into clocks, the small dilation that arrives just before he chooses a verb. "You're up," he said, as if etiquette had mailed me a warning. "The door thinks it knows our friends," I said. "It called someone back." He put both palms on the table like a man giving the word somewhere to land. The gesture is either dignity or triage. "Which question?" he asked. "Why or who?" "Why," I said, "because Matt, my emergency adult, kicks me under imaginary tables when I lead with names. If I start with who, the hardware writes our minutes." "Because the part wasn't coming," Elias said, eyes on the patch of wall where the paint keeps wanting to retire without ceremony. "Because donors clapped at the wrong places and wanted to be forgiven with gin. Because the lark turned up the music when the money started to feel theatrical. Because Adrian said the alley was quieter than pretending, and the rain was a curtain nobody paid for. Because we let the bell do the chore we weren't brave enough to do with our mouths." "Did you kiss him?" I asked, breaking Matt's superstition like a boy with a stick and a fence. "In the stairwell," he said. "Once, small and honest and wrong, I came home." "I hate how sane that sounds," I said, which is the sentence I keep for when mercy shows up before I find the tone to hold it. We didn't sleep. We did something more humiliating and useful. We agreed to see Adrian in daylight when cities pretend to be merciful. At noon, the stage door's awning dripped contrition onto the cracked sidewalk. Adrian waited with a paper cup and the posture of a man prepared to pay for his verbs. He saw us both and didn't pretend surprise, my favorite trick in men who owe a room honesty. "I was coming to apologize," he said, "to you and to the part of your door that thinks it knows my name. He loves you," he added, nodding toward Elias. "I like being near that. I'm sorry my job uses the same grammar as desire." "You don't get to call it ours," I said, "because cleverness is my superstition and I tithe when I'm anxious. Rehearsal is a room, a kiss is a scene, a door is a noun. You don't get to be the verb in our kitchen." Elias didn't look at Adrian. He looked at me with the exact weight of a man deciding which threshold deserves his mouth. "I want open windows," he said, "not open doors." The matinee swallowed them both. I walked home, set a chair in the center of the kitchen. The ritual mat prescribes for changing the weather inside a body, and stood until the room agreed to be a room again. When Elias came back, he smiled like a man relieved to be caught kindly. He came around the table and paused, always that pause, his most decent habit. I met him halfway. The first kiss was apology without speeches. The second had his fingers under my shirt and my hand at the back of his neck, the spot he keeps for oaths and sleep. We didn't perform a ceremony. We used heat as a system. If I could draw the rest without getting evicted by an algorithm that prefers virtue louder than accuracy, I would. You can have breath that belonged to both of us, a belt resigning with grace, a palm pinning a wrist as proof we remembered to ask. Of course, the city prefers quizzes. 2 nights later, the Lark's social account posted a carousel at 1:41 a.m. Hand saw light in the men's room mirror, 4 bodies if you counted reflections. Elias washing his hands, head down. Adrian behind him, tie undone. A stranger passing like a rumor. Me in the doorway because whoever posted had tagged my name. The caption said, "Boys being brave." Comments did what comments do. I typed nothing. I turned the phone face down. I moved the chair and waited for my heart to put on its grown-up voice. "Delete or archive," Elias said when he came in and handed me his phone. "I don't want new grammar." "You don't need me to erase your verbs," I said. He rested his forehead to mine like a paperweight on a better draft. The residency email arrived on Thursday with fonts that have never had to apologize to a kitchen. Residency, 7 days, quiet rooms, kind windows. Elias forwarded the PDF with every map attached, which is how you know a man has learned where courage keeps its receipts. "I want to go without disappearing," he wrote. "I'll send pages, not alibis. When I get back, ask me what I wrote before what I did." I taped 2 lines under the lemon magnet because props still save us when God is off shift. Addresses in the open. A good night here voice note every day. He added a third in his careful mess. If an "I can't" is coming, it happens where both of us are. Night 1, wind and a sentence I decided to believe. Today the table forgave me. Night 3, nothing, and my thumb became the worst teenager in the world. I opened the doorbell app against my will and stared at the square live view until the night gave up and admitted it was just rain. I moved the chair instead. At 8:12 he called with a voice that made the kettle think there might be a God. "I almost kissed a window," he said. "It didn't know your name. I closed the blinds." He returned with a suitcase that didn't slam and 2 pages he treated like animals. "They're not good," he said. "They're mine," I said, and we performed our small religion. Paper, kettle, a room that knows it isn't a lobby. He slid his hands under my shirt from behind, slower than contrition, faster than nostalgia. "Here," he said into the bend of my neck, which is the only word left that has never demanded witnesses. We tried boring. We failed gracefully. We tried again. Adrian learned to stand at the back of the house with his arms crossed like a man paying the bill he owes himself. He clapped exactly once after the kiss on preview night and sent no messages. The doorbell learned to keep its mouth shut except when the mail came. For a while we were merely mortal and it felt like promotion. One more test. The world is thorough when it thinks you've studied. At 12:03 a.m., the doorbell pushed a clip titled "Package Delivered, Signature Waived." The thumbnail showed no package. It showed 2 men laughing too softly for the street. Adrian was leaning on the rail like a man instructing gravity to be patient. Elias stood half-turned, holding the bell with his shoulder so the chime wouldn't volunteer a witness. The clip ended with a glitch, compression's little mercy. I took a breath. I took another. I didn't watch it twice. Elias came home at 1:18 with rain in his hair and a sentence ready. I walked him to the gate, he said. He kissed the night goodbye. I kissed the bell the word no. Do you want to hate me now or later? I prefer now. I like the way you come back from it. I'm tired of coming back, I said. I want to stay. He touched my jaw with 2 fingers, the intimacy director's sacrament repurposed for domestic faith, and for once the gesture belonged exactly where it landed. We went to bed without performing an essay on forgiveness. We used our mouths the way men do who still prefer heat to cleverness. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. Weeks alter even honest bruises. The doorbell still performs competence with a sincerity that would be charming if it weren't so good at gossip. The city still prefers glass it can see itself in. The theater keeps making rooms that want to pronounce us. I keep the kettle and the chair we move when words try to riot. If another hour offers me a square of video with the kind of honesty nobody asked for, or a hand on a back that isn't mine easing a man toward a door that refuses to be neutral, I hope I remember the handful of humiliating, useful acts that got us through this one. Put water on. Ask why before who. Hold the breath before contact, and let it finish being the scene. Then wait for the lock's small throat clearing like it's the first note in a song we can still tune to. We didn't get away with anything. We stayed. We are still staying. When Elias says here, my body has stopped auditioning for suspicion. The doorbell can keep its names, the river can keep its absolutions, the lobby can keep its glass. We'll keep being the address, or, on the nights we can't, we'll be the map that admits its misprints and still shows the way back. Past the awning that thinks it's a verb, past the elevator's red dot that loves its own memory, into a kitchen where a chair knows what it's for, a kettle sings at 7:05, and 2 hands that have done worse learn again how to touch without asking the night to edit. The next morning, sunlight behaved. It walked down the hallway like it was sorry for how dramatized it had looked in other rooms. I made coffee and put the mug where his hand would land. He came up behind me and laid his palm flat over my chest in the quiet territory between heartbeat and promise. Here, he said again, less a word than a careful wait. I put my hand over his and pressed. Our hands remembered each other's nouns. The day tried to reorganize our grammar. Around noon, Adrian's name lit my screen without asking permission. Not a call. A tag. The theater's account had posted a photo from the talkback. Elias seated on stage mid-laugh. Adrian beside him, head turned, listening like attention was a sport he trained for. The caption thanked donors and mentioned the word community with the earnestness of a grant application. I let my eyes do the smallest treason, noticed the way Elias' ankle hooked toward the man beside him, the geometry of candor that is only sometimes innocent. I didn't show him the image. He knows that posture better than I do. He knows how to unlearn it when it matters. That night, we invited 2 friends and the habit of normalcy to dinner. The doorbell recognized no one by name. It simply chimed and unapologetically forgot. Elias looked at me like a man practicing an oath with his mouth closed. The chair stayed where chairs belong. Steam turned water into proof. In the blur between cleanup and the last candle's surrender, his hand found my wrist and asked not for spectacle but for consent. We went to the bedroom not because the narrative demanded it but because the room had been so patient with our revisions. He kissed me like a promise that knows what interest is, slow and honest. I didn't give you the rest last time. I won't give it now. Keep the simple arithmetic. 2 bodies that kept their nouns. A breath we shared because we asked. A door that finally understood the difference between greeting and granting. After he fell asleep faster than his reputation allows. The doorbell's log, when I checked it out of morbid habit, was perfectly blank. No faces, no packages, no heroics. Just a square of hallway, dim and polite, owning its quiet. I put the phone down and looked at the not-quite-closed door to our room, at the seam of light it permitted, at the ordinary proof that we had managed, again, to choose being here over being right. Tomorrow will try to retest us. The city loves its quizzes. Adrian will nod in some hallway. A donor will clap in the wrong place. An algorithm will offer a carousel of men washing their hands in flattering light. Permissions will ask to be renewed. But when the door says, "Welcome back," I want that name to be mine, not because the bell says it, but because the man beside me does. And if the night forgets and edits, we will do what we have learned to do. Move the chair, put water on, allow our mouths to choose the long, embarrassing work of staying.